Good.
Hi guys. Hi guys. Matt Lemke with True Gamer Goggles. I have John, Thurston, and Tonya here, and we're going to talk about all things society.
Yes.
Society.
Well, it's Pathfinder, it's the card game, and it's Starfinder, so all things. So wait, like I said, I'm going to jump the gun, and I said the card game. Is there going to be a Starfinder card game?
Not at this time. It is not in plans.
That's too bad.
I will never say never to anything because then I'm proved wrong later. But right now we're focusing on the Pathfinder side of it.
Right. That's your bread and butter.
It is. It's also got a lot of stories that the team at Lone Shark and Paizo want to tell. And they're really excited with the new revamp on how they can tell those. So until they run out of stories, not really ready to jump.
Yeah, there's plenty of adventure paths.
Lots. Plus, with the new storybooks, we can write a lot more independent stories, so it keeps the game going and going and going and going. And going.
And going.
Yes.
Energizer. I won't say anything else on that.
No.
Okay.
No, we'll leave it there.
Fair.
No copyright infringement. So, okay. John's like the overall director or overseer of all the societies, right? If I understand that correctly?
Yeah, I'm the organized play lead developer, which means that when it comes to the creative development of our storylines for Pathfinder Society, Starfinder Society, and Pathfinder Adventure Card Society, then I'm the one who does sort of a final pass, helps to develop the overarching narratives, outline the scenarios and things like that. And then jumping in to develop adventures where I'm needed.
Okay, so I saw online that people can submit like their own storylines, their story arcs. How much of those do you get to hack?
So what they're probably referencing is the open call. So the Pathfinder open call has existed for about a decade at this point, and the original notion was you submit a pitch for an adventure, and then they would reach out and have you write it, like this jackal.
That's where I came from.
But what it eventually evolved into was send us in a quest, which is about 2,200 or 2,500 words. It's a 1-hour adventure to show us that you know how to write and can put together the piece of adventure and show us the formatting and make it cool. So it was more of a writing sample sort of thing. We have largely disabled that for the past couple of years, in part because we're spinning over to Pathfinder 2nd Edition, knowing that not only do we need to rush and focus our development on the project of getting that edition out rather than reviewing a pile of submissions, but also knowing that the skills from a first edition writer are going to translate pretty well to second edition, but there are going to be some big differences. So we've been looking ahead to the possibilities of making a new open call in second edition, particularly because when Pathfinder Society's second edition launches in August 1st, we're going to be doing once per month standalone quests. So again, those 1-hour adventures. And those are a great size for new authors. Those are a great size for people to be able to submit them through our open call process. So maybe then we'll be able to start taking some of those pitches and some of those submissions and turning them straight into publications, rather than using them as writing samples.
Excellent. I don't know if I could write a 1-hour adventure.
I know I don't. The writing is all these guys. And Linda back home and Michael Sayer back home. So.
Yeah, I can't think of a time I've played less than an 8-hour session.
So writing and playing the session, those times can be way different.
Yeah.
That's fair, but... All right, so now we'll move to Thurston real quick. What is your role?
So I am the Starfinder Society developer. So under John, I am the one responsible for the Starfinder Society component of organized play, for working on the overarching narrative, developing the scenarios, writing the outlines, sending them out to freelancers, working with our freelancers, getting those manuscripts back, and then turning them into the games that you see played at these type of events and at game stores across the world.
Seems like there's a lot of overlap there.
So like John said, yeah, there is. John fills in a lot of those like gaps between both departments. So both Pathfinder and Starfinder. If I need help, because God forbid I want to take a vacation or something some point, John can come in, pick that up. If I want to, or if I'm working on like a bunch of outlines and we need to figure out a story, it's always good to have someone else to bounce those ideas off of, and John kind of acts as the creative control there. So if I'm going way off the rails and say I want to season about space ice cream trucks, and he's like, no, that's not going to work.
We can do a scenario about space ice cream trucks. We can't pull off a whole
Goblin
season.
space ice cream trucks.
Just adding goblin to something doesn't make it sell the way we want it to.
These are the type of discussions we have in the office, and that is why John's position is certainly more of an oversight. I am the one who's kind of in the day-to-day trenches with Starfinder Society, working on all the scenarios that come out and basically preparing them for release.
And then I guess we'll move to Tonya. It's her turn.
Hello. I'm the logistics side of it. So they take care of our numbers. While they take care of all of the scenarios that come out that people can play, I worry about the conventions we're scheduling into, volunteer organization pieces of it, liaisoning with our Organized Play Foundation, internal liaisoning between all of our different departments that aren't our editorial OP people, to just try and keep the wheels going and keep the games going. So.
Tonya also acts as a bit of a backstop when it comes to our ideas and how they're going to play out in the wild. So we might have this sort of thing where it's, all right, we want them to track these 16 different things during this event, and Tonya will say, you remember what it was like to be a GM? Like, all right, we'll make them track 6 things. Remember what it was like to be a GM and run one of these events. Okay, fine, we'll have them track 2 things.
So there's no flaggers in the near future at Gen Con?
We're actually trying to get away from those flaggers. It's hard to run a 5-hour event. It's hard to stand still for 5 hours in a corner and just move your fingers. That was one of the feedbacks that came back from our HQ volunteers were, we can do this one night of Gen Con, but 4? 3? Yeah. So, we've looked at, actually, that's one of those places where I got the feedback. I came back and said, so how can we track things that doesn't necessarily mean standing there flashing cards or flashing fingers? And then we come up with different methods. We take them back out. We field test them. We'll bring them back this year. I believe this 1098 has the paper tabs in it that are already included in the scenario.
Should be the case.
They can run it back and forth. Because asking a table runner to come up to us is a little bit easier than asking people to stand around.
Well, that could be the wizard.
Mr. Wizard, Mr. Wizard! So,
Or the rogue. The rogue's pretty fast, can run up, deliver messages back to table.
they sneak up on the overseers, and then all of a sudden they're like, bah! Yes. We took Linda by surprise a couple of times at PaizoCon with sneaking up on her up there.
Oh, I bet that was fun. What happened at PaizoCon? What did I miss?
So, at PaizoCon, we debuted 1098 Siege of Gallowspire, which is one of our 2 main finale adventure ideas for Season 10. Because as we're wrapping up the end of the first edition campaign, or the last of those scenarios, we wanted to make sure that we had a natural conclusion to as many character storylines as possible. So 1098 is our multi-table interactive special, where all the tables in the entire room are playing the same adventure at the same time, and their successes contribute to how the overall, what we call the house, the whole group, is doing. But they can also help other tables. And this is one where it was a little bit different, because you don't bring one character, you bring 4. You have the one you're playing, and then the 3 who are backing you up, and can go to other tables and lend them aid at critical moments, or even go off on these large-scale missions that are announced partway through the event. So it is both very familiar to those who have done multi-table interactive specials with us before, but also some very different components. And so it was absolutely great having Linda Zayas-Palmer developing this one and going through all of the workshopping on it to make it happen.
Okay, so now is 1098 done in 2.0 or original rules?
That's first edition. So that's again one of the ways for people's first edition characters to sort of wrap up their big storyline, going all out for one final big goal. The other one that we have is a 2-part series for high-level characters, in which it's not one of the multi-table specials. Instead, it's a classic pair of scenarios telling a really deep, intriguey plot line as you cleanse a certain piece out of the society to make it all the better going forward, and setting the stage for second edition.
Okay.
It's running here tonight. So if you're
1098
is running here tonight. So if anyone wants to stop by,
Well, they won't see this.
they won't
till-
say,
I'm not that. Sadly, I'm not that good, and I'm only here till 7.
That works. Well, it's running at Gen Con, and then it will be released to conventions and 5-table events, I think we said.
5 table was
Yeah.
right.
So that is, anyone else can take it after Gen Con for a 5-table event.
So, well, no, we'll come back
Okay.
to 2.0. Let's hit Starfinder because.
Okay.
So where is the story now? Because I feel bad. I've only played Starfinder like 3 times.
Absolutely. So for Starfinder Society, we started off with our first season launch, Year of the Scoured Stars, which we started off with Starfinder. You know, it was a new game. We were testing the waters a bit. We started off by releasing 1 scenario a month, and that lasted for like all of 4 months before we changed and realized, our fans are not going to be happy if we only are doing 1 scenario. So we switched up and ramped up to 2 scenarios a month pretty quick in our development cycle. And what that meant was we kind of had an idea for the story of our first season, but then when we got 2 scenarios a month, we're like, we could still use a little bit more time. So actually here at Origins, we're wrapping up our first season storyline with our big interactive special, 200 Fate of the Scoured God by Chris Wasco, which is this sort of, I always use the like high space opera kind of going and punching some evil aliens in the face with all the friends you've built up over the course of our first season, which has been about 40 plus scenarios at this point. We're hovering at around 40 scenarios for our first season. That includes our last interactive special, which was sort of kind of a mid-season big event, and then we had some quest packs and other sort of special events when we launched. So overall, we've got about that 41, 42 number. And then at PaizoCon, going back to that a bit, we launched our last 2 scenarios for the season, 1-38, Many Minds of Astoria, and then 1-39, The Herald's War, which is sort of that like really big, epic, we're going to do this small punch to the bad guys, which sets up the stage for what we're doing here, which is more of we're ending the last season, and then we're going into our second season, which is the Year of 1,000 Bites, which is a way different style of season than what we did before. So we're going from space opera to a lot of like very personal stuff and really kicking things home to the players in terms of like what the Starfinder Society is about and what its role is in the universe, and maybe people don't see that the same way. So we're sort of changing things up, but also keeping a lot of the kind of fun humor and different way of the campaign works for Starfinder. To give an example, our first scenario that we've got here, 201 Pack World Warriors, is a game show reality TV show that the players partake in, where they go from, running through an obstacle course to murdering a bunch of aliens and cooking them to, like, all this sorts of, it's all this sorts of just different stuff and wild in a game show environment, and we're tracking their points, and it's all contributing to the goal of the society, but it's that kind of stuff we can do in Starfinder that we aren't able to do in a more traditional fantasy setting.
So, are you launching a new season at Gen Con as well?
No, so our season for Starfinder launches here at Origins, and then at Gen Con we have we don't have any kind of early releases there. We're going into that's more to keep our team sane, because all the Pathfinder people are working through for their releases, and I have to do then for Origins. That way we're not all doing everything like stacked up together, because oh boy, do we impact a lot of departments with what we do. So
that was part of why we did an extended season 1, was because we moved the launch from Gen Con to Origins last year. And that, besides the fewer scenarios, we had a shorter year, and we just went, we can't do this. So if we're looking to launch 1 in the spring and 1 at Gen Con, we needed a little bit of,
that is smart.
Breathing room.
So, for Pathfinder 2.0 at Gen Con, what are the cool plans?
We've got Thursday launch plans. So 8 a.m. before the exhibit hall is even open, Org Play will start the first games of 2E. We are launching aggressively Thursday night with everyone doing 100.
100 sounds right, yeah.
I think it's 100, and it's a pre-generated 5th level.
Yeah, so Origin of the Open Road is a pre-generated character adventure. We provide the 5th level characters because when we're launching a new campaign, everybody's going to be starting at first level. So this is a chance to see what a slightly higher level sort of character can do. A chance to play around with the system, break a few things, and feel awesome. But it also sets the background for the first year's storyline as well, kicking that off. Whereas in the past seasons of Pathfinder Society, we've used the interactive special at the beginning of the year to kick off the storyline. Starfinder's been really cool in that it's been using the interactive special more to close up a storyline and using those initial pre-generated character specials to spin up the story instead.
I can see that as a cool difference. I mean, it has to give you like a big battle effect feel in Starfinder.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that we found with these interactive specials, especially when they were starting a season, is it was, the PCs all go to this place. They don't know really why. Suddenly it's all under attack. By golly, we're always reacting to things, and we don't know why, and it's trying to set up a story. Whereas when it's closing out a story, it's, we've been working toward this for a year. Everybody already has reason to be excited and know why we're there. Let's rock this. And finally tie up those loose ends that we've been looking to do so for a whole year.
One of the things when we launched Starfinder Society is we had to explain why we only had first level, second level characters. And so we always kind of said that first interactive appeared off screen, and that set up the reasons for the society to exist. And that gave a mental meta for the players on how to engage into the society as well. Oh, okay, I get it. I see where we're going.
Yeah, we basically assumed that we had a Gen Con special that everyone failed at, and that never actually happened, but that was kind of how we narratively structured going into Starfinder Society. And then of course, we got all the players who were like, wow, the big special that, like, no one could win. That's a neat idea, and then we sort of moved on with that into Starfinder, which was really cool.
So it's different ways to explain why you're starting back at ground zero, the level ones, level twos, without breaking a narrative continuity that we want to keep. So that's another one that we've done with Pathfinder Society 2nd Edition, is really trying to keep that narrative moving forward. While we're not bringing some things whole cloth like our factions, we're trying to bring familiar faces and things that for players of one, they go, oh, I understand this, I know where we're going, but it doesn't leave the new players out. It brings them into the story as well.
That's good.
Yeah.
That is good.
So our year is Year of the Open Road, kind of back to the basics of what the society is and looking at some of our founders and what they're getting up to.
Yeah, so a bunch of our season storylines in Pathfinder Society, especially from like season 5 onward, were very much like, the Pathfinder Society is really big now. It's a force. And so they were starting to do these really big international projects like, let's close up the World Wound where all the demons are coming from. Okay, I thought we were an Explorers League, but now we're doing huge events. Let's overthrow this country. Like, that level of thing. Let's unleash a demigod. You know, okay, impressive. But at this point, we want to kind of remember our report, explore, cooperate sort of ideals of we're out there to go and study ruins. We're out there to go and find cool things. So Year of the Open Road is very much more like that, where you're going to be checking out all over the world, but at the same time, there's this through thread about some of the original founders of the society, including stories that have been lost to time, and you're going to be rediscovering, including the project that they never finished, but now you can.
Does that mean we might see some parts of the unknown world, as Jason called it to me once?
Yeah, there are plans to go to at least 2 different places that we have never even touched, much less mapped on the world.
That's awesome. I was wondering how many years that was going to be, because I think that was probably my first interview with Jason, so that was like 2014. He said there was more to the world map, and I was like, it's huge already.
Yeah, and one of them at least, for anybody who does the reading, you can find some of the original people who joined the Pathfinder Society and where one of them disappeared to know where we're going next.
That's a hint, people.
Hint, hint.
That's a hint.
One of the things that we were very successful on with Starfinder Society is integrating its activities and its lore and culture into the greater Starfinder team, and Thirsty works really close with them to get everything back and forth, and we're looking to try and do that more on the Pathfinder side, where Society and Pathfinder integrate and have kind of a symbiotic relationship instead of Society being one side and Pathfinder being another side, and kind of separate. So we're going to get there.
Yeah, and with Starfinder, what we're seeing is, like, originally with sort of that, as I mentioned earlier, that kind of staggered release for Starfinder just to see how it did after it came out. We found that, like, Society was actually producing a lot of the content that was exploring the world because we were only doing the adventure paths every 2 months. And one thing that came out, like as we went through our first season, I mentioned those like 40 plus scenarios, was we introduced a lot of new continuity, and we're starting to see kind of the fruits of that in our product line because coming out at Gen Con is Alien Archive 3, and Alien Archive 3 will actually include some stuff that came from Starfinder Society. And so the players who have been part of this campaign are now able to go, oh, I saw that in a scenario like a year, 2 years before it showed up in a book. That's cool. So
also fun with that is that all of our scenarios have reporting notes where at the end we have like this, did they befriend the person or did they kill the person? Checkbox A or checkbox B. And that goes into our system that we can look at. And so the players are also shaping some of the continuity. So every once in a while we will have things that are showing up in future books that describe a place that was first introduced in Starfinder Society, and the way it's framed is based on the actions that the players took in those adventures.
That's an undertaking, logistically speaking.
A little bit, but I mean, it's a lot of communication, and it's a lot of talking, it's a lot of brainstorming. But we've got a team that's been together now 4 or 5 years for the core team, and Michael joined us last year, and we're all, all of us came from the player base and from the freelance base and from outside before we were Paizo employees. So we're bringing those memories and those pieces and those, I wish I could have, into, and then shaping society from that.
And from a logistics standpoint, if you think that can be intense, one of our major undertakings for Season 2 of Starfinder Society is we're trying to pick a new leader for the Starfinder Society, because the way that the Starfinder Society is structured is that its leader is kind of an elected official who wants to undertake a big thing. And so every first seeker that the Starfinder Society has kind of their big push that the society's getting behind. And so what we're doing starting in Season 2 is we're moving towards having a player take on that role. And coming up, we've talked about this earlier, we talked about this at PaizoCon, but we're going to have a scenario that's going to come out and release some of the potential candidates for our new first seeker. All of those are coming from players.
That's really nuts.
And it's been great internally for us because we're like, yeah, we can have like a player whose character becomes the leader of our society. And then it's like, well, what happens if they like show up to Gen Con with their character? And we're like, that's great. They can go up on the podium and make all the announcements. Like, that kind of continuity. It's so cool to see.
And on top of that, what if that first seeker character dies?
Yeah.
But these are sorts of fun constraints that happen because like, when Thurston and I sit down to start coming up with one of these seasons, we can come up with any number of ideas. But when we're basing it partly on what the players have submitted, we're building around those and thinking about directions that we had never considered before. And we say, well, if we're going to have to go with one of these 4, what does that end up shaping our season to look like? And what ideas does that spin off of all that brainstorming process?
One of the goals we set for ourselves was a much more living campaign feel, a player-led campaign where we're the guardians and the fosters and we move things forward, but they are telling us what they want through factions, through the reporting conditions, through the election of the new first seeker. I'm sure we will start brainstorming some ideas for 2nd edition Pathfinder once we get out of, well, what does that look like and what are our final decisions on the framework of it. So many decisions. So many.
It's a busy summer.
It is.
Yeah.
I bet it's busy all the time.
Usually.
Yeah, especially summer.
I mean, it's just... convention season definitely is busy.
I was about to say, convention season is a term that gets thrown around a lot from us. I think our fans have finally realized that convention seasons is about 8 months of the year, but
Whoa. For you, maybe. My last convention is the first weekend of December. My first convention is the first weekend of January.
See? Look at that.
There is no convention season anymore.
Not anymore.
Only
No, because the communities have grown so large and people are joining the hobby at such an amazing rate. It's just constant. We're hearing about, I want to go there and see this community, or I want to go try this event here. It's fantastic to hear. It's global now. And we've got, because of the internet, because of technology, we've now got players of card game and of our virtual tabletops.
Didn't even talk about.
Every single place in the world. I mean, it's an online presence, it's a convention presence, it's a local game store presence, it's a location presence. So if you have a library or a school you can play in there too. So it's just everyone, everywhere. Come on, everyone game. That's my goal.
That's pretty much it. I mean,
Yeah.
gaming coffee shops popping up even in my
Yeah,
hometown,
exactly.
which is like, let's put it in perspective. There's more people that attend Gen Con than live in Canton, Ohio.
I know where Canton is. I can find it on a map. Only because I know someone from Akron. So, you know.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Hop,
the big
skip,
city.
and a jump.
Exactly.
So one side of my family's from there. So.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
A lot of our people are from Midwest. A lot have
And some
come
of them
out.
are moving back.
And some of them are moving back. Yes, we did get that bad news. So, unfortunate.
Yeah, he'll freelance.
Yeah, we'll say that here. So, any other questions?
I was just going to say, what else do we want to add, if anything? Play more Paizo.
Play more games.
That's fair.
The bigger the community, the more robust the community, the more offerings that we as companies can give to those communities. So
Yeah.
it really is a big.
And I really want to see more Pathfinder and Starfinder licenses. I really do. I would love a Pathfinder-themed miniatures game.
We have one person in the office dedicated to licensing. So all we need is for those companies to contact him, licensing@paizo.com, and make their pitch. And we'll see. He can make it happen.
Yeah.
He's got the power.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Oh.
wait,
The thing I'd also add is that go to conventions and play organized play. Go to your game stores and play organized play, because it's a great way, especially if you've been doing mostly home games, like I had been before I even started Pathfinder Society about 9 years ago. It's a great way to meet new people, see other gaming styles, and especially if you're a GM, learn new GMing techniques and see ones that do and don't work for you, so that you can grow as a gamer yourself and give ever better experiences to your players. Organized play is amazing for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And free RPG Day is right around the corner.
It is.
With sanctioned
Wow.
organized play content.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi guys, meet the Nibbles, who's gonna go down. She just decided not to go down my back, so we'll do this for her so she's comfy. Thanks for watching my video, and I appreciate it. Please hit the like button and share it if you know somebody who might be interested. And of course, there's always Twitter and the Facebook thingy, and soon I have a newsletter coming. That'll be down there or in the link below, and my kitty cat loves that idea. So anyway, there was one more thing. Oh yeah, subscribe. Be a part of my community, our community. Let's make it grow together. See you guys at a con somewhere, or a local store, or if I'm driving through the country, maybe a game club. I don't know. You're not going to go knock down my camera. Bye, guys.